Have you ever found yourself lost in the noise of life? The endless responsibilities, the unpredictable changes, the constant rush that leaves little space for peace? In those moments, have you wondered, is it possible to feel truly calm, even when the world outside feels chaotic? Buddhism has quietly carried the answer for over 2,000 years. Gentle, ancient teachings that remind us peace doesn't come from controlling life, but from learning to let go. You see, what is meant for you will arrive at the right time, in the right way. There is no need to force, no need to chase. Through the simple wisdom of Buddhist stories and parables, we learn to release what no longer belongs to us, the worries, the attachments, the expectations, and to welcome life's gifts with grace, without clinging or fear. But here's the important part. Letting go isn't indifference. It isn't cold or disconnected. True detachment is a quiet kind of freedom, a space within you where love can flow without conditions, where peace can stay, even when life changes. So, I invite you to walk this journey with me. Together, let's gently explore how these ancient teachings can become a living practice in our modern lives, guiding us toward a more conscious, peaceful, and fulfilling existence. There's an ancient Zen story about a monk and a porcelain cup. The cup was beautiful, delicate, a gift from his master. The monk cherished it, admired its design, protected it, kept it close at all times. But one day, the cup slipped from his hands, fell to the ground, and shattered into 1,000 pieces. The monk's heart tightened with sadness, but his master looked at him with calm eyes and simply said, "That cup was already broken from the beginning." You see, in Zen Buddhism, this isn't about being careless or cold. It's about recognizing the nature of life itself, impermanence. Everything we cling to, people, objects, dreams, they are like the cup, already fragile, already destined to change, to break, to leave. But still, we grasp tightly, afraid to lose, believing that holding on means safety. Yet, it's that very attachment that brings suffering. Imagine the river. Does it hold onto the water that flows through it? No, it simply lets it pass and keeps moving. We too can learn to love, to appreciate, without possession, without fear. Letting go isn't about giving up love. It's about loving with freedom, without dependence, without chains. When we release the need to control, we finally taste true peace. And maybe, just maybe, that peace is more beautiful than any cup we could ever hold in our hands. You see, when we finally let go, when we loosen our grip on the things we cannot hold forever, there's a lightness that rises within us. But the journey doesn't stop there, because after letting go, life often brings us face to face with its most stubborn lesson, learning to accept reality as it is. There's an old Zen story that speaks to this. One day, a young student came to his master, frustrated and tired. He sighed and said, "Master, I suffer because life refuses to be the way I want." The master, calm as ever, simply smiled and replied, "You suffer not because of life, but because you resist life." We've all done this, haven't we? Believing that with enough effort, enough planning, life will obey our expectations. But life, like the ocean, has its own rhythm beyond our control. Picture yourself standing before a giant wave. You can push, fight, resist, but the wave doesn't care. You only exhaust yourself. Or you can soften, lean into the flow, and let the wave carry you. Acceptance isn't weakness, it's clarity. It's seeing life as it truly is, without illusions. It doesn't mean giving up. It means releasing the useless struggle so you can act wisely, with calm strength. Like the skilled archer who adjusts his aim, knowing some things, the wind, the shifting target, will never be his to control. And maybe peace begins, not when life changes, but when we change how we meet it. You know, sometimes in life, we rush to judge whether something is good luck or misfortune. But Buddhism gently reminds us, slow down. What you see now is only a tiny piece of a much larger picture. There's an old story from a small village. A monk lived there with his son. One day, a wild horse wandered into their garden. The neighbors all came running. "You're so lucky. A beautiful horse like that is a treasure." The monk smiled softly. "Good luck, bad luck, who can say?" A few days later, the son tried to ride the horse, but he fell and broke his leg. The neighbors came back. "What bad luck? Now your son can't work." But again, the monk calmly replied, "Good luck, bad luck, who can say?" Soon after, a war broke out. All the young men in the village were drafted, except for the monk's son, because of his injury. The neighbors returned once more. "You're so lucky." And the monk, still calm, still smiling, simply said, "Good luck, bad luck, who can say?" You see, sometimes what feels like loss is just life clearing space for something better. What life takes away or gives us always has a reason, though in the moment, we may not yet understand it. It's like the story of the butterfly in its cocoon. Someone tried to help it escape too soon, but by doing so, the butterfly's wings grew weak and it could never fly. Sometimes it's the struggle, the slow process, that shapes us into who we're meant to become. Think of the farmer. He can plant seeds, water the soil, care for the land, but he cannot force the plants to grow faster. Everything follows its own time, its own rhythm. Life is the same. Some things we must simply wait for, trust the process. And when the time is right, everything unfolds, just as it's meant to. And maybe the hardest thing to release is the need to control. After all, we've been taught that if we plan enough, try hard enough, we can shape life exactly how we want. But how often has life reminded us it flows on its own terms, like a river winding through unknown lands? There's a reason Zen masters often speak of water. Imagine the river. It never fights the rocks in its path. It doesn't resist. It simply flows around them, adapting, moving forward. And yet, how often do we try to control everything? Our relationships, our future, how others see us, how life unfolds. But the truth is, the more we cling, the more we suffer. It's like the story of the man hanging from a tree branch, high above the ground. His arms ache, his fingers tremble, but fear keeps him clinging tightly. What he doesn't know is that just beneath him is solid ground. If only he had the courage to let go. We live the same way, holding on to jobs that drain us, relationships that no longer serve us, expectations that weigh us down because we believe letting go means losing, but often it's the only way to be free. And when we loosen that grip, life has a way of surprising us. How many times have you lost something, a job, a relationship, a plan, only to discover a better path, one you never expected? Sometimes it's life clearing space for growth. Letting go of control doesn't mean giving up. It means releasing the illusion that we control everything. It means acting with care, but surrendering the outcome. Like an artist painting, not for fame, not for approval, but simply for the joy of creating. When we live that way, life feels lighter, more spacious, more free. Because the truth is, life was never meant to be gripped so tightly. It's meant to be lived, gently, courageously, in flow. And maybe real strength is knowing when to hold on and when to finally let go. And maybe, once we've learned to loosen our grip, once we've stopped fighting the flow of life, there's another lesson waiting quietly for us. The lesson of compassion. But compassion doesn't just mean kindness to others. It begins with ourselves. There's an old story. A man once came to a monk, overwhelmed with guilt. He held his head in his hands, crying, "I've made so many mistakes. I've hurt those I love. I cannot forgive myself." The monk looked at him gently and said, "If a bird were to break its own wing, simply because it stumbled during flight, how could it ever fly again?" You see, how often do we clip our own wings with harsh words, endless self-judgment, punishment for being imperfect? But true compassion starts with learning to be gentle with yourself. Only when we love ourselves can we truly offer love to others? There's another story of a man carrying a heavy sack of stones. His back aches, his steps falter, yet he refuses to set the burden down. Inside that sack are his grudges, his anger, his regrets. The monk passing by asks, "Why carry that weight when it only exhausts you?" And still, many of us live the same way, gripping tightly to anger, to hurt, believing it protects us. But hatred, resentment, they burn like hot coals, and the first to get burned is always ourselves. Buddhist wisdom reminds us, forgiveness isn't saying the other person was right, it's choosing peace, choosing not to poison ourselves with what they did. It means remembering we are all learning, stumbling through life, making mistakes along the way. We hold people accountable, yes, but we release the anger, not for them, but for our own freedom. And maybe the deepest act of strength is not holding on to pain, but gently letting go and choosing compassion again and again. And maybe, after all these lessons, after the quiet reflections on letting go, acceptance, and compassion, there comes a moment when we wonder, how do we bring this wisdom into daily life? There's an old story in Zen. A young student once asked his master, "How long will it take me to reach enlightenment?" The master looked at him calmly. "If you hurry, much longer. If you walk with patience, perhaps sooner than you think." Transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's not about reading one book, watching one video, or understanding everything in a moment. It's about quiet, steady practice every single day. So, how do we live with more peace, more awareness? Starting now. It begins with 6 simple but powerful steps. First, let go of attachment. Love, appreciate, but don't possess. Don't fear losing. Second, accept reality as it is. Stop fighting what already exists. Only from acceptance comes clear action. Third, trust life. When things fall apart, look for the lesson, not just the loss. Fourth, practice daily meditation. Even 5 minutes, observing your breath, can bring clarity. Fifth, release control. Do your best, but surrender the outcome. Let life unfold. And sixth, practice compassion. Not grand gestures, just small acts of kindness, starting with yourself. Because life is always moving, always changing. Buddhist wisdom isn't distant theory, it's a living practice, moment by moment, stumble by stumble, slowly growing. Some days, you'll forget, you'll react, you'll hold on. That's okay. What matters is returning, gently, again and again. So today, I invite you, live, make mistakes, fall down, get back up. Every moment is a chance to loosen your grip, to trust, to live with more freedom. If this message spoke to your heart, don't let it fade. Subscribe to this channel. Join us in exploring more teachings that bring peace, clarity, and strength. Your journey is just beginning, and I'll be right here, walking with you every step of the way.